and welcome to episode 24 of the Quotes and Mirrors podcast. I am Tyrell James.
And I am Uncommonterry. Happy to be back. Happy to be back.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've been. It's so good to be back, man.
Yeah, a little bit. Circumstances happen, but we're going to work it out so that we won't have no many breaks. As much as possible, we're going to work it so we won't have no more breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless, no more unplanned.
That's the reason. That's the reason, because there was a break.
Hey. It's too soon. She hasn't healed enough for that to be funny.
Oh no, I was making jokes I sent her a text message making jokes. Remember, I made a roll bounce joke.
Wow.
Oh my bad. We got so everybody's on the outside of an inside joke.
Oh yeah. For those of you obviously that don't know, my wife broke her ankle and he didn't care, and so that's how. That's what happened. God bless you, babe. I'm here for you. All right.
She shouldn't have laughed when I made the joke.
Hey, she got a sense of humor about it. That's one of the many things that I love about her. Thank God for it.
Yes,
But I am happy. I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back in the chair. Happy to be back on here to chat with you, chop some things up, and see what things, just to catch up, see what's going on. For those of you all that have never listened to the show, for those of you all that continue to listen to the show, what we're going to do here, this is Quotes and Mirrors. We have a quote going across the screen. We'll tell you about that because all of y'all ain't watching the screen, right? But we're gonna take this quote, let you know what it is. We're gonna chop it up and give it our own, our views from each perspective. We might argue a little bit, but so that's just the fun of it.
Good.
Yeah, that's just the fun of it. You know what I mean? So, I guess I should introduce tonight's quote, huh?
Yeah. It was your quote.
Yeah, it was. Well, not my quote. I didn't say it. Yeah, but it was my turn to select. So this quote is from Frederick Douglass. I actually want to dig a little bit more into who he was, but at any rate, the quote is, "It's easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men." Again, it's easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men. So, why did I choose this quote? First things first, when I read it, I was like, that is crazy insightful. Like crazy insightful. For the time, Frederick Douglass, of course, he's talking about slave children and about the effects of slavery. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I was just like, I was trying to think about in that time, like how do you raise a strong child? Like, what does it look like in that time frame to raise a strong child? Because the strength is in it's in the silence. The strength is in I can't even really tell you everywhere it would come from, because the rebellion to some degree, but then the lack of rebellion to another, because, if you're strong enough to restrain yourself in this time, then that could save the life of your brother or your sister. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? At the same time, you might have to have the strength to be the sacrifice. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's just, I don't know. It sent my head spinning for a minute, man. I was just like, wow. And then, we'll get to it, but I want, just see what it is today, what it means today to raise strong children versus broken men. And, also do want to talk about, and I probably need to write some stuff down, but I also want to talk about the fact that he did say repair broken men, not broken people. You know what I mean? That he made it specific to men. And because he said, it's interesting, he says raise strong children. He doesn't say it's easier to raise a strong boy than it is to repair strong men, but easier to raise strong children. You know what I mean?
I think that was back during the time where they would say men and include women. Like all men are created equal, but of course they're talking about everybody. So and of course I don't want to speak for him, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he was going with that.
Okay, so if he was saying men as in mankind,
Right? Yeah.
okay, okay, I can give
Yeah.
you that. Okay, I'm open to that being what's happening. So,
Mhm.
but I want to know what did you when you read? First of all, had you heard this before?
No. No.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
and then so what was your feeling when you saw this or when you heard this?
Well, first, let's define strong.
Well, we already about to get gray.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. And I'm saying that because as far as raising, are we talking about from the parent's perspective what they are instilling in the child, or
Hmm.
are we talking about from the child's perspective what they are receiving from the parent? And what I mean by that is, if you look at certain children, I'll tell you what, we're gonna use your daddy and our uncles as 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 an example.
Okay.
Now, they weren't always the men that they are now. You know,
No,
some of
not at
them,
all.
yeah, yeah, some of them were, out in the streets, and so,
Right,
so,
right.
but but grandma, granddaddy, they
Hmm.
raised strong children. The values, the things that they instilled in them, that was coming from a place of strength. But the decisions that they were making at those young ages, and that's why I said we have to. So, what are we talking about? Are we talking about how the child receives it? Because at that point, the child wasn't receiving it and it the way that it was being given. Now they got it later on in life.
Now,
But
okay.
but where I'm going with that is at some point, based off of some of the decisions that they were making, somebody will call them broken. But they were raised as strong children.
Okay. So then okay, let's first say this then. So given the quote, are we saying that this is an either or situation? Because like from what you just said, so hold on. So you're saying you could be raised as a strong child and still be a broken man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think vice versa too. I think you could be not raised strong and end up strong. I think you can be a broken child and that could
Hmm.
lead to you being a strong person.
Okay. Okay. Well, as I read it, he doesn't say either or to answer my own question. He just says it's easier,
Right. Hmm.
right? So, okay. Hmm. So you said at some point they were broken.
I'm saying at some point the perception could be that they were broken. I don't know if I would
Oh,
go that far to say that they were broken just because I know them.
mm-hmm.
For me, it's you were on a path, you veered off your path, you came back, but the perception could be that they were broken.
Though they were raised as strong children. So okay. So the first thing you were saying about the perspective being from the parent to the child versus from the way the child is receiving it.
Right.
Right. Okay. So they're raising strong children. Let's say we're going from the parent's perspective. So the parent's intent is to instill strength from various different areas, whether mental strength, emotional strength, financial strength. Well, I don't know about financial strength so much because financial literacy wasn't really what we were focused on or
Right. Hmm.
taught. You know what I mean? But so mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and then what? Social even.
Hmm.
Right. So these are the areas where they intend to instill the strength. Okay. So why? Let me ask you, why is it easier? Why is it easier to raise strong children than it is to repair a broken man?
Are you asking me that? Because I have the same question.
What? Huh?
I said, you're asking me that because I have the same question.
well, well, I guess we should answer each other's question. And so,
Because I don't
um,
know if I necessarily completely agree with that.
well, because the thing is, so this is what I'm thinking. Like you were saying, um, like like we've talked about on past episodes about planting the seed, right? So you
Mhm.
intend you plant the seed of strength, but you don't necessarily know this exists until they become men.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
it's I don't know. Now that I think about it, like how do you know that it's easier? You know what I mean? If you haven't really seen the fruit of your labor just yet,
Mhm.
right? Um, and then as far as to repair a broken man, wow. I don't know. But as I say it over and over, I'm not sure he means just a broken person. You know what I mean? Because I think the difficulty in repairing a broken man is, when your pride is depleted, when your dignity is stolen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know. This seems like a larger issue for men. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Than it does for women. But
And he's, of course, speaking from a male's perspective. So,
yeah,
you know,
see, that's where I
we don't
guess
know
it's
what
a
it's like.
little. Go ahead.
I said, we don't know what it feels like to be a woman. So,
That's true.
you know,
I was gonna
yeah.
make a joke. I was gonna make it was right there,
I know,
but
I
I
know. Look, I'm with you, because I was thinking the same thing. But nah, nah, let it go, let it go.
right. Just let it rock. That's all. Just let it rock. but but I don't know that it would be easier. Like okay, maybe it's easier to raise a strong child because the child is a blank slate, right? So
Mhm.
a blank slate or an empty bucket, if you will, whatever the case is, they are in a position to be poured into. They're in a position to be molded, to be designed. You know what I mean? To be directed.
Mhm.
For guidance to not be thwarted or interrupted by an existing plan, right?
Mhm.
And so, whereas for a man, a broken man, you're talking about a cat whose plan has failed, essentially. Who is,
Mhm.
it's like it's almost like dealing with the like a pot. It's easier to like a pot that hasn't, if you burn something in the pot and the bottom of the pot is burned out. You know what I mean? You have to, before you can cook, you got to get all of that out of there before you can cook again, before you can use it again. You know what I'm saying? And so that
Mhm.
residue that exists as a result of that failed situation, obviously, figuratively speaking, would be where that's what covers that broken cat. And so that's why I think now that I think about it, that's why I think it would be easier because that child is just a blank slate,
Mhm.
right? Because now you were saying that you didn't think this was necessarily true. So what do you say about that?
Well, no, I said I don't know if I completely agree.
Okay, okay.
I think it is true in a lot of instances, but then you got to look at the person who maybe they were broken, and maybe they weren't raised to be a strong child, right? But they got to a certain point in their life where they decided, I need to make a change because of the way that I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So now that person, that person to me is actually stronger than the child that was raised as a strong child,
Why
because
so?
that person knows, because that person understand understands what it's like to be on that side, to be broken, and then they made a conscious decision to move away from that place. And the amount of strength that it takes to move from that place of being broken to fixing yourself or to repairing yourself, um, the person who's always been strong, they will never understand that type of strength. They've never had to tap into that strength because they've just always been what they consider strong.
Okay, but is that a greater strength or just a different strength?
I think it really depends on here I go. I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the person's perception. My perception is that it's a greater strength. Now, if somebody is going to say that it's just a different strength, I can't disagree with that. I understand why they would say it's just a different strength. But to me, I think it's a greater strength because I think that it is. I think that it takes a lot more strength to. All right, put it this way. So you got somebody that is like they just have like metabolism out of this world, and they've been like that since they were a kid. They've never had to worry about putting on weight, eat, and they won't put on weight.
Hmm.
It's easy for them to just go to the gym and work out and not have to deal with something that somebody who's carrying a little more weight would have to deal with. So that person who's carrying that weight, and let's say they have always carried that weight, it's a stronger, I mean, it's a harder struggle for them. So when that person, gets to the goal, when they reach their goal, it's actually that right there. I'm going to applaud that person a whole lot more than I'm going to applaud the person who it was easy for. It's like, "Ah, that was easy. This is what you've been doing your entire life. This is who you've always been." This person had a struggle. So to me, that person was strong because they had to fight their way out of something.
Um. Okay. I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying. I still think different versus greater. Like like the question of is which who's stronger, the person that avoids the situation or the person that fights temptation. So the alcoholic that won't go to the bar, is he stronger than the alcoholic that sits in the bar but doesn't drink? You know what I mean? Is
Mhm.
it is one of them stronger than the other, or is it just a different strength? You know what I mean?
I think that the person who goes to the bar and does not drink is stronger because the
Okay, because
person who doesn't go to the bar
mhm.
knows I can't be there because I'm not strong enough to be there. So I have to
Okay,
stay where I am because if I go there, I'm going to slip. I'm going to slip.
okay, okay. So now I don't want to get too far away from the quote. So back to it being easier to raise strong children than repair broken men. Let me reiterate. Again, I say easier because the child is an empty receptacle, is a blank slate. Would you agree that that would make it easier to either that would make it easier to raise a strong child versus repairing a broken man? Would you agree with that would be a reason of why it would be easier?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
100%. When one of the things that I was thinking about with this is anytime I'm teaching somebody new how to box,
Mm-hmm.
very first thing I ask them is, have you been in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fights?
Mm-hmm.
And if they tell me yes, they've been in a lot of fights, I'm like, oh, now I gotta unlearn. You gotta unlearn a bunch of things.
Yeah.
For the person who hasn't been in any fights, it's easier to teach
Right.
them. I don't have to break any bad habits.
Right. 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 Okay.
So yeah, I do think that that's a reason. Absolutely. Which is why I
Okay.
said I don't completely
Right.
agree. Because a lot of this I do agree with. I just think that there is that gray area.
Okay. Now, so building on this, what would you say to raising a strong man, a strong child, would prevent a broken man or
Say that
woman or
again.
per. If raising a strong child. So if you're raised as a strong child, does that prevent you from being a broken person?
Oh no, absolutely not.
So it don't
Absolutely
just take it off the table.
right. Because I've seen people who have been raised as strong children just go out and end up broken.
Well, now, when you say raise as strong children, because see, in that we're still looking at the intent of the parent versus the digestion of the child,
Hmm.
right? So I gave you what was necessary for strength, but if you
Hmm.
didn't absorb it, then it doesn't become strength, or it doesn't stay strength. So, like for instance, okay, let's bring it home. You were raised a strong child,
Hmm.
right? You were raised strong sense of family, strong sense of self, great integrity, right? You
Hmm.
were so. Would you say that you yourself could not be broken?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I believe there were times in my life where I was broken.
Now, okay, so
So I guess now we have to define broken.
well, you're just gonna say that it depends on the person anyway.
For me, but and actually it does depend on the person because the thing is, for me, when I felt broken, it was more so because of the things that I was going through. Now, it's more of an emotional break,
Mhm.
a more or a psychological break, just because of the things that I had to go through. But I do believe because I was well, you know what? I take that back. I believe there were times that I felt broken, but now that I'm looking back, I don't think I was because it was the strength that they gave me that helped me fight through those things and get me to where I am now.
Okay, so I
So
mean, so hold on. Does that mean that you weren't broken, or does that just mean you were repaired?
no, I don't think that I was ever broken. I felt broken at the time. If
Hmm.
you would have if you would have asked me back then, are you broken? I probably would have said yes. But at this point in my life, as I'm looking back, I don't think that I was broken, which means that I wasn't repaired. Now, I think that there's a difference between being needing to be repaired and just growing. I think there was growth,
Okay.
but I don't think I was necessarily repaired. I don't think
Now,
that I was
so
broken
so
before I
so
was repaired.
okay. So defining broken. What I would imagine, not imagine. What I'm saying broken you were is an individual that is fully operational,
Hmm.
right? Fully operational. At the very least, potentially fully operational. Had what was necessary to be operational, and somehow was robbed of that. Somehow, the faculties that once were present are no longer present.
Hmm.
Right. So, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking. My mind is kind of racing concerning this idea of this broken man versus the strong child, and whether or not one can become the other. Because I asked the question earlier about the either or, but he said easier, so that kind of says it's not necessarily either or. Um,
Right.
but I'm just thinking about it. I don't know, the broken man. I think I'll be thinking because I'm thinking about the time frame too. So I'm thinking about the the slave who has accepted the name change, has accepted his position in life, especially when you think, wow, I didn't even think about that. When you think about some of in this particular time frame, you're talking about cats that was taken from very possibly royalty,
Right. Mhm.
And so stripped of position, stripped of status, not just to be thrown amongst commoners, but stripped down to the lowest possible denominator. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Broken. And so, and then you're expected to somehow raise a strong child. Wow. Okay, so now we was talking about either or, but now as I'm thinking about the time, we talking about a simultaneous situation. You talking about a broken man having to raise a strong child. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well,
Strong possibility of that.
yeah, yeah, definitely a strong possibility. Yeah, look, he's opened it up by saying that. Now, if you're broken, are you capable of raising a strong child?
Well, I think that to some degree it would serve to repair you to raise a strong child because you wow. Wow. Okay, yeah, because you would be trying to raise this child and guide this child, direct this child to the way, in a way for them to come up out of what you're in, or even, god dang, or even just to even to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but if you could successfully do that, if you could, because a lot of times, of course, just as far as the children are concerned, the only goal is really like if I've done better than my parents. Let me back up. For the parents, if your children have done better than you, right? If they've gone further than you did in life,
Mhm.
for most parents, they're pretty good with that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So in this situation, if you're able to raise your child, wow, that is so sad, man. But if you're able to raise them to not have to deal with the just what to do so as not to have to deal with the punishment, that he or she had to endure. If you're able to protect them from that by teaching them how to avoid or whatever, then I could see there being some healing in that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like first there could definitely be shame and guilt, for even being captured, put in a position and having your children come up in that position. But I would imagine that the repair would come into place when you can see that, okay, he did not have to get this lashing. He did not have to be in the shackle. He did not have to uh, sleep in a box. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whatever the case, I'm just, yeah. There's a lot going on in my head right now concerning this. God dang, there's a lot. I can't even pick a path right now.
Mhm. Well, I tell you what. Let's make it modern, man. Let's bring it away from slavery because
Okay,
the thing is, it's hard to put ourselves at that time.
true,
It's
true,
impossible. It's
true.
impossible for us to do that.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
mm, so I tell you what. Let's look at it like this. It's difficult to raise. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it's difficult to raise strong children now when you have the internet and entertainment raising your child as well?
Well, definitely difficult, but far from impossible. If you're going to engage as a father, because that's the whole problem with everything, as far as I'm concerned. That's the whole problem with everything. Your father wasn't your father. Plain and simple. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're gonna make some decisions as you get older, but so actually, I digress. I won't just say your father wasn't your father, because it's gonna be some people that are just destined to be knuckleheads. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I think that's just it's difficult, but far, far, far from impossible. You got to engage. You got to interrupt. You know what I mean? When
Right.
it's when you can't just leave your children. You get them a laptop. You get them an iPad. You can't just let that raise them. Let them go up in their room and that be that. That's how cats build bombs. I mean, not us typically, right? But you know, that's what happened.
Hold on. Well, real quick sidebar, and then we'll get right back to it.
Yeah.
I had a science project one time and I wanted to build a bomb, and mom looked at me like I was crazy. And she said, if you start researching how to build a bomb, do you understand who is going to be at our door?
Yeah, I agree with her.
I didn't build a bomb. I did something stupid like a little volcano with baking soda, or whatever. I don't know. As you were.
But yeah, so it's difficult, but definitely far from impossible to raise a strong child. But you have to engage because
Mm,
um, you should be in a position where they question the internet because of what you're teaching them.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Because of what you're teaching them, and you're even if you're just teaching them, not just, but you include in what you're teaching them, you include the fallacy of the internet.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean how this is posted for the purpose of sucking you in, for the purpose of miseducation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely, yeah, and that's something I'm even I'm learning more because we as adults, like when it says raising strong children, raising is that's an action situation, and I have found that in some areas when it comes to my children, I have told them, but I haven't taught them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yeah, as
Mhm.
long as you're fully engaged, 100%, you can raise a strong child. You're raising a strong child.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
did
We are
you
raising strong children.
huh?
We are raising strong children.
No, definitely. I'm just saying, you and I.
Not together. Not together. I don't want y'all thinking not together.
No, at the same time, not
At the
together.
same time. At the same time.
But but so why'd you ask that?
As what?
Why'd you ask if I think it's possible to raise strong children in today's day
Oh,
and time?
just because because the internet and entertainment is such a distraction, and kids are so impressionable, especially
Hmm.
when their friends are, they're doing things, or they have their phones and they're watching certain things, and their little brains are just taking in all of these things. So um, that stuff looks cool. So
Hmm.
I feel like kids are getting younger and younger. The phrase, "But my friends are doing it," I feel like kids are getting younger and younger now
Okay.
using that phrase. It seemed like that was more of a teenage thing at one point, and now the kids are getting younger and actually using that phrase because
Okay. You was confusing me. You was confusing me for just a second because you kept saying, I feel like the kids are getting younger and younger. And I'm like, uh,
they
by
got
the
that Benjamin
natural,
Button.
exactly. I'm just like, that would defy the human experience, sir. They are by nature getting older and older. But I know what you're saying now. I know
No,
what you're saying now.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, using that phrase, it's getting younger, younger. Um, so I feel like it's making it a little more difficult, especially like let's say back at a certain point, you could have be instilling these these principles, these morals into these children, and
Mhm.
then they become teenagers, and now they say that they get into high school, and now they want to start a rebellion,
Right.
right? But you've already put those seeds there. You've already planted those seeds.
Hmm.
But now, because it's happening at a younger age, the time that you would have had to plant seeds is shorter.
Mm.
So, it unfortunately we have to just come to terms with the fact that we ain't raising our kids by ourselves. The internet is also raising them, and entertainment is raising them as well because they are impressionable. They do want to do the things that look cool. They
Hmm.
want to, especially if their friends are doing it. So it's making it harder to raise. Um, it's making it harder to raise strong children when you have all of these weak influences that keep coming across as cool.
Okay, so now you just made me think about something because you said let's go ahead and bring it to modern day, right? Do you
Mhm.
think like you think it would be it's easier to grab the mind of a child today and teach them, raise them as strong children, teaching them how can I say, just raising them as strong children, teaching them morality, teaching them ethics, teaching them the importance of financial literacy, so on and so forth. Do you think it's easier to do that than it is to get a man? Let's say, I lost my train of thought, but I guess I'm thinking along the lines. I'm thinking about like a cat that hasn't been there for his kids, right?
Mhm.
I consider that to be a broken cat. Right?
Me too.
I consider that to be a broken cat, broken mindset. Do you think it's easier to raise that strong child versus getting that cat to submit to circumstance and come back into a child's life? Like, like they're older, they haven't been there for 20 years, and now they're showing back up. Do you think it's easier to raise, a stronger child, a strongly, in today's date, like with all the internet and all of that, right? What's wrong with you laughing at?
It depends on the person.
well, see, now I think when you bring it modern day, I think it would actually be a little more difficult to raise that strong child because, like you
Really?
said, those yeah, because like I said, them influences they cool, man.
Mhm.
They cool, and not only is the influence itself cool for kids these days, dude. For them, they actually have the opportunity to know more than their parents,
Yeah, yeah.
like like to legitimately know more than their parents.
Uh-huh.
And so when you have a child that already thinks he knows more than his parents, and then he could pretty much validate his position, I I think that it's a bit more difficult to grab that cat's attention and say, wait a second, you know, you don't know what you think you know, or what you think you know doesn't include all of what you need to know. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I think it'd be harder to grab his attention than it would be because a cat that ain't been there, it's a possibility. I think it's a greater possibility that some degree of reason has settled and some guilt has overtaken to where most of them cats I think they're just looking for the opportunity to succumb to the circumstance and reconnect. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Um, Prior to you saying that, I think that my answer would have, I think I would have gone the other way.
Really?
And yeah, I think so. I just because with a lot of people, with a lot of guys who have just not been there,
Hmm.
you are who you are.
Okay.
And that's not saying that a lot of them, haven't or wouldn't change and decide, okay, I want to be a father now. But I do believe that I don't know. I think I do still lean towards the other way because you got to this other factors too because you also have to take into consideration what if that child is like, look, you ain't been there for me. Like I've been wanting you all this time, and now you decide that you want to nah. Like you can't come in and be a father to me now because you weren't then, and I'm fine now. I did this without you, and I think for a lot of men, hearing that is just going to make them say, All right, well, what's the point? What's the point? Again, it depends on the person. I'm not talking about all of them because all of
Hmm.
them are not going to do that. But I do think because now I'm also thinking about modern day parents. So the thing is, as times change, the way you raise your children has to change as well.
Okay.
So you have to where
Oh
our
man. Yeah.
parents didn't our parents didn't raise us during a time where there was the internet.
Hmm.
you know, so they didn't have to include that in raising us. They didn't have to that wasn't anything they had to take into consideration when it
Right.
came to raising us. But that's something that we had to take into consideration, with
Yeah.
great country. So you just have to adjust with the times. So it doesn't it's not that it makes it harder to raise that strong child. You just as a parent, you adjust. You adjust according to the times.
I think it definitely makes it harder though. I think anytime your opposition is multiplied, are you okay?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
sure?
yeah. I mean, if I get up and go,
You want me to
just
call somebody?
I mean, who you gonna call?
I don't know. From the when you looked over your shoulder, it looked like I might need to call a Ghostbuster. So, so, but okay, long as you're good, long as you're good. Sorry about
Yeah,
that,
I
Sean.
think we good. I think we good.
Okay,
Look, I'm just look. As long as that alarm doesn't go off, hey.
gotcha.
But if that alarm goes off, I'm closing this laptop because hey, no evidence.
I got you. All right, but yeah, I think what was you saying? Oh man, I lost my train of thought. And I apologize because I took us off track. Um,
Nah,
but
that
I
was
think I
me,
was
and whatever that was.
I think I was saying that it's more difficult now. So when you say make it modern day, I have to say I'm not sure that this actually holds up, that this actually travels into the now because um, I do think it is difficult to raise stronger children because you have the multiples. That's what I was saying. You have the multiples as far as opposition is concerned or obstacle is concerned. Because you could be right now, you could be talking to your child right now. Especially now, this is the crazy part. You could be if you're not in the same space, right? So say you and your child not face to face. Say you talking to them on text, and you giving them the business on text.
Hmm.
The same time they reading your text, they looking at something else on TikTok.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So you like you were saying earlier that you have a shorter amount of time to actually plant that seed, but not only is that it's a short amount of time to plant the seed, but the ground is not nearly as fertile to receive it because of those different obstacles. And so it's harder to raise a stronger child when it's harder to even I mean now man you can when you was a kid as you find out somebody is fighting in school, it's a strong child that says, man, I'm not going over there with that nonsense.
Hmm.
That same child don't have to go over there. He could look at his feed on Instagram in just a few
Right.
minutes. You know what I mean? In just a minute. He don't even have to. It don't even have to be just a minute. One of his boys could be over there at the fight live on Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's gonna make it. That makes it quite a bit more difficult to raise that strong child. Now I will say
But
the other thing that it does though is it does amplify what it means to be a strong child. You know what I mean?
hmm
Because if you can be that child in this day and age, that you're not you're not doing these dumb behind TikTok challenges, with cats is catching themselves on fire. You know what I mean? If you can be if you can be the child that's not trying to capture the fight, that instead is concerned with the safety of the individual. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If you
Right.
can be that child right now, that's a whole nother level of strength.
But you know what? All right, I want to go back to something that you said. You were saying that the um, if you are talking to your child through text, and you said, like you said, giving them the business, whatever, so they did something they shouldn't be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're texting them. So, but that goes back to what I was saying is you adjust with the times, because I know that communicating with you through that phone is going to be a distraction. That's not how I'm going to communicate with you.
But you may not always have the option. You know what I'm saying?
But but that's my check. If I got to talk to you about something, if there's an issue, oh, I'm gonna make the time.
Yeah, but I
I might
mean,
not be able to do it right now, but the text may be, we got to talk later.
mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to communicate with you. I'm not going to get my point. Yo, for one thing, you got to hear my voice. Okay, you got to hear just how angry I am.
Right,
You
right.
know, or you got to hear the one thing that scares the crap out of Tyrell. He said, I hate it when your voice gets low,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll be like, all right, man, listen. When I start when I start talking like that, he said, Daddy. He said, man, he said it scares the crap out of me when your voice. He said, I would almost rather you scream at me, you
Yeah,
know,
but
but
I
stuff like that.
now that's I think that is a common situation when you have gotten so angry that antics will not express your level of anger.
Hmm.
When you've gotten so angry that you've harnessed that energy. Yeah, that's a common situation because anytime my father definitely anytime he's a soft spoken man anyway,
Hmm.
but anytime for him it's not so much of voice getting low as much as and I know you probably can't even imagine this when his words get short. Yeah, I know. I know. But when his words get short, that's when you know what? Let me just go upstairs and get this red belt. But anyway,
I ain't gonna let you sit up here and lie on my uncle like that.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you for real. but what we're saying though in that situation, because given okay, I agree with you. Um, when I've had the exchanges with my children and they've started to get lengthy in the text, I'm not about to do this.
Hmm.
I'm not about to do this. I'm not about to sit on there with no Nintendo thumbs talking to you. No,
Right.
call me. That's it. Either pick up when I call or call me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that was just an example to say that there are many distractions that or obstacles that have to be overcome at this date and time when you are speaking to your children. And so you got to go harder. And that's the crazy thing, right? And I guess I didn't think about it because obviously, I don't have any intentions of backing away from my children. But, as time has gone forward, parents, period, you have more obstacles to overcome in order to get through to your children. But like you said, you have to grow with the times. So your effort has to be greater. But the way things have panned out, specifically in the way of fathers, there is more obstacles to overcome and less fathers or less effort being put forth overcoming them. You understand what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
it's despicable. But just coming back to the quote, I still think I mean, and I think this applied then, but I don't think it travels. I think at this date and time that it is more difficult to raise a strong child than it is to repair a broken man. Especially now with mental health being so much on the forefront,
Hmm.
and cats not being so ashamed to say I go to therapy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Cats, now cats done made it mad cool to go to therapy. Yeah, it ain't so cool to cry yet. You know what I mean? But but it's
Yeah,
cool to
yeah,
go to
yes, it is.
therapy. It's,
Yes, it is. They
no, no,
they
no,
get
no,
on.
no. I'm not saying I don't think it's cool. I don't care about crying. Let it rip. But I'm
No,
saying,
no, I know what you're saying. I'm talking about them. They
okay.
get they get online and they cry now. They
Oh,
so
that's
that
right.
people
I
can see
guess.
them. Yeah, because they want attention. Like they go live, no tears, live. Ain't nobody watching yet. Oh, it's somebody. And if you don't go call your parents, they should have raised you stronger.
Yeah, that's sad but true. It's sad but
Yeah,
true. But yeah, I don't
they
I don't
want to
think
cry.
it I don't think it I don't think it travels. I think that it's true now that it's harder to raise a strong child. Um
Mhm.
because it's just so many obstacles, and not just for them, for you. There's so many different distractions still, because we keep blaming these kids for being raised during the time of the internet. You spending more time with your chin on your chest, looking at your phone, than you are looking your child in the face too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
we had to back away from that, because I certainly I had to take all of them apps off of my phone, because I'm in the car. How the car full of people and ain't nobody got a word to say? You know what I mean? Car full of people, just full of folks. And it's definitely full of folks in my house. I got a minivan, car full of folks. And, and everybody got their chin to their chest.
Yeah.
And one of us is driving. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's
That's
crazy.
why I think it's important. Like I know, man. There've been times like me and Terrell. We like when we sit down and eat, no
Mm,
phones. It's
yeah.
me and you. We can watch TV and laugh at the same thing and talk about what we watch, or we can sit here and talk, but no phones. No phones. This
Yeah.
is our time. Time to
Now,
disconnect.
I agree with that
Hmm.
100%, because what happens is, like I said, you get in a car full of people, and everybody got their chin to their chest. We got 5 people in the car, and it's 5 different rooms in my car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everybody, so we gotta disconnect. You gotta go ahead and hey
Yeah.
yo, y'all take them headphones off. Let's listen to this song. Let's talk about something. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's and like you said, when you eat, when we're sitting at the dinner table, my wife been trying to get no phones or no devices at the table going on for a minute. I be giving in. That's my fault. I be giving in, especially with my man. When Bud comes to the table, a lot of times it's just easier to
Right.
let him
Yeah.
have his headphones, and let him have his device. But a lot of times, that's another thing. A lot of times with these kids, as far as actually raising these strong kids, you'll find out that the struggle is not always what you assumed it to be if you just go ahead and engage. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because there are times with him where I've decided, you know what, let me take your iPad. You go sit down and eat. And the thing is, you can't just take his iPad, tell him sit down and eat, and just let it rock. You have to replace that
Hmm.
activity with activity. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So if we're gonna
Right.
say you're gonna take his iPad, then we're gonna engage. Hey man, let's rap. Let's count. Let's sing Wheels on the Bus, whatever the case. And you find out that if you go ahead and engage, that iPad that you were letting him have wasn't as necessary for him as you thought it was.
Right.
What was necessary was engagement.
Right.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So yeah, so it's still harder, but we got to push harder. We got to do more. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
at any rate, that's all I have to say about that.
All right, man.
but but I like I said, it struck me when I read it. I wasn't sure if how I agreed with it. I appreciate you talking about bringing it to now, because actually, when you're talking about we can't really talk about slavery, Jesus, what? How dare I try to try to imagine what it was like, what it was like to be in that in that time and in that struggle? Just how dare I? I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but I appreciate you, bringing it forward to this date and time. I still think it's an important quote because I think it's something that needs to be discussed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
think it needs to be discussed as to what strength is, what actually raising your children is, and what it is to be, what is breaking cats and what can and will repair them. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I think the conversation definitely had to be had. And yeah, I appreciate you creating the atmosphere that allowed us to unpack it the way we did. You know what
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you live in the gray area.
I tried, man. I tried. I can't find a house I like. You know what I mean?
They all gray. That's the problem. You want either a black house or
That's
a white
it. That's it. I just, but it serves its purpose. So,
house.
nonetheless, well, I tell you, like I said, I was saying that's all I had to say. Did you have a final point or that you wanted to make on that?
No, no, I think we covered everything, man. I
Okay.
don't even know if I got to all my notes, but I think the rest of my notes turned this into a 2-hour show. Although I think we did cover it without me even mentioning them. Um,
That happens often.
yeah, yeah. There's one thing I will say, and we ain't really got to get into this, but one of the things that I put on here is even though this quote does make sense, but not being raised strong does not always equate to being broken.
No, no, no. I think definitely. Um, yeah, I think definitely because I guess yeah, I agree with that. I agree
Hmm.
with that. That doesn't
Yeah,
equate to being broken. Yeah, those aren't the only options. It's not just strong or broken.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get with that. Do you have a quote on deck for next week?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Got a quote by Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It is better to be a warrior in a garden than it is to be a gardener in a war.
okay. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to find a video clip. I think he probably said that on tape somewhere. That sounds like because Bruce Lee was kind of deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, his consciousness was ridiculous. So,
Hmm.
all right,
Yeah.
cool.
I actually got that from I'm listening to you've been telling me about doing the Audible books and I just haven't done it, but I finally did it. My therapist actually recommended that I get Will Smith's book, Will.
Ah,
And I was like, I do so much research I used to love reading. I hate reading now. Well,
hmm
I'm not going to say hate, but I'm not a fan of reading as much as I used to be because I do so much research between podcasting and presentations that I have to give every week
hmm
that I just get tired of words. I get
okay,
tired of it. So I say, you know what? Let me try this Audible thing, man. So I've been listening to this book, and I'm actually taking notes. I'm taking notes with each chapter, and I'm sending them. I send them all to my therapist. I'm like, you wanted me to read this book, okay? This is what you got yourself into. She got this long list. I'm on a. She just told me about this last week. I got the book. I'm on chapter 5. Well, I'm on chapter 6, but I sent her all of my notes from chapters 1 through 5. And now tomorrow she got to dig through all of that stuff and try to figure out what she want to talk about. But hey, look,
well, so
you
so
did
well, hold
this
on
time.
though. Okay, well, I tell you what, let's wrap the show, and then I got a couple of questions.
Okay. All right. So I am Tyrell James.
And I am Uncommonterry.
And clearly you forgot your name. And on that note, and I quote, peace
Peace.
out.